The average human makes 30,000 decisions in a day, and they don't know it because their subconscious is calling the shots. Like, when you figure out how to change at a subconscious level, everything changes. Like, everything changes. And conversely, when you keep trying to do conscious work, read the book, go to the seminar, get the blueprint, execute, do the thing, learn the script, say the thing, that's all conscious work, which is only 5% of the game. Prefrontal cortex, 5%. It does nothing. When your subconscious is not in alignment with your conscious, it's always going to win. And once there's conflict there, you have to do work here. And if you don't do work here, this is burnout. This is that self-defeating, I'm not good enough because I'm doing all the things. And until you start figuring out this game called the subconscious and reprogramming it, you can do all the shit that all the guys from stage tell you to do, the blueprints, the hacks, the sales scripts, the thing. You could do it, and you still won't build the life that you say that you want, because you will self-sabotage every step of the way.
Nick Alfano, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, brother? How are you?
Dude, doing all right. Trying to recover from a virus, so if I sound sick, I apologize. But I'm excited to dive in and explore your story today, because you're somebody where you've had a lot of business success. You've built and scaled businesses. You have your law degree, you're a lawyer. But at one point, you reached a point where you gave it all up, and you had a radical transformation in your life. So, yeah. Nick, let's just dive right into it. Tell us about a little bit of your past success and what made you decide to change your whole trajectory and really just give a life to helping and serving others.
Yeah, so I'll give you a kind of a Cliff Notes version, so I don't eat up the whole reel here. But essentially, as I sit here, I'm 44 years old. I've been a serial entrepreneur for actually over 30 years now. Believe it or not, I started my first business when I was a teenager. We used to, I don't know if you guys, remember, probably it's a classic for you guys. It was no move for me, but the original Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
So like my wife and I's car were actually in that movie, just in like a corny little background scene when they
Which
were
ones
street
were
racing. It was just two little crappy Honda Civics. So there's a scene where they're it's like the big boy races in the desert and stuff. Is essentially, we had this place called Ontario in California where everyone street raced every Wednesday night and then on weekends. So anyway, they just they told us they were filming. This was before the movie was going to be a thing. And so like there was like probably 40 of us that went out there with like, I'm talking crap cars, like 7-8K, like my first car, lowered the wrong way, loud exhaust, one of those cars that makes a lot of noise and doesn't go anywhere. So anyway,
sounds like a tin can when it's going down the road.
Yeah, it's like embarrassing. Everyone look at me, but I'm not very fast, or furious. So the reason I bring that up is my first business. I was so obsessed with cars. I've always been obsessed with cars. It's called Outcast Motorsports, and I was still a teenager. And my buddy's dad owned like a upholstery shop, so he did a lot of upholstery for cars, like reupholstering seats and things like that. So we subleased the back of it, and we were literally didn't know what we were doing. We started off with just like lowering and putting on some bolt-on like intake and exhaust, and then we got into like full motor swaps on mainly JDM cars, right? But one of the biggest things I learned was liability was a huge issue, and we were literally like running and gunning, and we had no paperwork, no nothing. It was kind of like the homies would come through and we'd hook up their cars, but we developed wholesale accounts out of LA. All that to say, what kind of pushed me towards law in a couple different ways is like, man, we almost got sued and almost hurt people, because we were doing things from a place of cutting costs and being quick and really learning as we went. And some of these were our buddies that we weren't really covering our ass from a place of like, I'm going to put a Prelude motor in a Honda Civic, and I'm going to just kind of like figure out how the motor mounts don't work. I'm going to weld a few things and I'm going to make it work. And I'm going to send this guy on his way. And this guy could have his kids in the car. This guy could have, other people he could hurt. He's definitely going to push it to the max because he thinks he's a street racer. But that was like my first run at business when I was still a teenager. So as I sit here, serial entrepreneur, 30 years, one of the biggest things I ever built was my debt collection office.
Yeah.
At one point, and this is why I love what you're doing, and I feel like I'm attracted to guys that are running big floors, is I had 23 locations, so 23, not anywhere as cool as this office, by the way. I had one office that was almost this cool. This is probably the prettiest office I've ever seen. But we had 23 locations nationwide. a little over 600, I call them kids, people on the phones. And I was doing about $3 million annual, pretty much passive income. So I would set these things up. The problem though with debt collection is it's litigation heavy. So we were getting sued a lot, and I was like, all right, another flag here. I should go investigate this. And I was paying guys that had super nice suits, not as nice as yours, but I was paying these guys $350, $400 an hour. I was in SoCal at the time, and literally what I started to learn about lawyers was like,
how much were you paying in lawyer fees per year?
Yeah, I mean, I ended up getting my own law degree before we got to 23 offices, but I want to say we were hovering around 4 or 5 offices, and I started to see the lawsuits coming in a little more because I didn't have as much control over the quote unquote franchises. So I think we were probably pushing $200K a year in legal fees. Now, it was a cost benefit analysis, so it was still a win, which is why that industry is so scary, because it really is, if we cross the line this many times, we run the chance of getting sued this many times. Our average settlement is this much. Okay, let's keep crossing the line because we also convert at this much, right? So that's how scary.
So the numbers worked out.
Oh, the numbers always penciled, man. But as a good business owner, I'm like, okay, how can we cut these costs? But mostly I was frustrated with guys that I was paying $350, $400 an hour in SoCal, and they couldn't even show up in a Jonah suit. They definitely couldn't run their mouth. And I'm like, all a lawyer is a salesman with a bar card.
Yeah,
that's it. If you got the gift of gab, if you can sell a story, and you went to through the work of getting, in Cali we had 6-digit bar numbers. Mine was 298566. So if you got that little piece of paper and you could put out a powerful letterhead and you could run your mouth, like, you just got things done. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to do this. So I put myself through a night school. It took a little over 4 years. It was year round. So law school is typically 3 years if you go straight out of school. It was 4 years. Never a break, and then you take the same test as, when I sat for my test, there was 1,200 people in the room, and there was a kid from Harvard and Stanford, and we all take the same test, same bar.
Yeah.
And Cali actually has the lowest pass rate. It's the only 3-day bar, but it's also just, I think they're trying to limit the amount of attorneys in Cali because most of them are...
There's a lot.
Everyone's suing everybody for everything in that state.
The attorneys, they'll just hang out at parks, and they'll wait for a kid to fall off the playground and be like, oh, sorry, are you hurt?
Yeah.
They
call
run
ambulance
to the mom
chasers.
and...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they're shutting down all the parks.
Yeah. No, so it was
they'll
funny.
sue you for anything in Cali.
I made a pretty good killing off of those bird scooters, and everyone's got a different name, Lime. In San Diego, because I was really close to San Diego, it was very common people would rent those things, and then if the streets aren't up to par and there's a crack in the sidewalk, never mind that the guy was drunk, or it doesn't matter. Like if the city doesn't have their streets up to par and there's these scooters on there, either the scooter company or the city or both are responsible if you flip over that thing head first, even if you're shit-faced. You know what I mean? So anyway, there was a couple really easy slam dunk.
Is it true in California that somebody was just telling me this, that every office space or public facility has to be wheelchair accessible?
Yeah.
And there's this one guy, he was saying that it cost him $70,000. He had to redo his entire parking lot.
Yep.
Because it was 5% less of an incline than it should have been.
Yeah.
So it cost him $70,000
somebody
to redo
really
the whole
beat
thing.
him up on that for a reason. So, I'll give you one. You want a fun legal business tip? I know attorneys right now that are out there making a killing because your website has to be compliant as well. Did you know your website has to be blind compliant?
How so?
I don't know exactly how you do it, but look it up. So there's a couple of attorneys out there making an absolute killing. They'll jam you up because your actual website has to be ADA compliant too, Americans with Disabilities Act. And so I don't know exactly how it works, if there has to be audio or whatever, but they can just go. And so imagine you didn't know that. No one listening knows that. Millions of websites out there that so they're going to look for someone that has the money who also doesn't want to fight it. And they'll jam you up and then you're done. And you either go and pay to get compliant, but you also get sued because they say that they had a client get on there and they couldn't get information about your product and you're discriminating. Yeah.
I'm assuming it depends on what state you're in though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I'm pretty sure ADA is a federal thing, but I know in California, I know 3 attorneys that are cleaning house, just checking websites and jamming people up for tens of thousands of dollars.
It's exactly why I moved out of Illinois and moved to Florida.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I moved out of Cali to Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of just being a lawyer, what's one practical, what's something you learned as a lawyer that the entrepreneurs, business owners, sales guys watching this can apply to their businesses to either save money or accelerate their business?
I think, a lot's changed since ChatGPT, so I think everyone... this is kind of a double-edged sword. So number one, lawyers are people.
Yeah.
They're not that cool.
Yeah.
Most lawyers I know aren't actually even good at their job, but they're also, what they're leveraging is a 4-year skill set. And of course, maybe if they have 10 years experience, but they're just leveraging, they know something that you don't know. They know how to, they call it wordsmithing or legalese. They know a certain language. But the reality is, I think people are too quick to lawyer up. And I think 90%, I don't know the stat in Florida, but I can tell you in California, 90-something% of cases never see trial. Nobody wants to go to trial. It's too expensive. It's a pain in the ass. It's the system is so backed up. You'll be there for years. Where I'm going with this is, I think what I see entrepreneurs is if they get their first lawsuit. First of all, getting sued is just a cost. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in business. Like, I don't care who you are.
If you're not getting sued, you're not doing business.
Yeah, you're not big enough. You're not loud enough. The end. Yeah.
Yep.
But what happens when they get their first lawsuit is they freak out, and the reality is, like, with Chat GPT and stuff, you can defend it pretty decently, and I don't want to have people lean too heavily on that. For example, paralegals are pretty much gone. And paralegals, for me, that was it's the same as a doctor-nurse relationship. Like, the nurse does all the work, the doctor comes in off of the 9th green and catches the baby, and he gets all the credit. My paralegals did everything for me, from getting every case ready to what's called shepherdizing. I would just tell entrepreneurs now, don't freak out. Don't lawyer up right away. Get pretty far with Chat GPT in terms of correspondence back and forth, and then figure out if you have to lawyer up. So step 1 is you don't need to lawyer up right away with everything that's out there right now. Step 2, most lawyers, I think it depends on the firm coming after you. So research the firm. Most of them just send what we call shakedown letters. It's literally just a demand letter, and because it's on Alfano law, it's on my letterhead, it's scarier than if Jonah just sends it himself. Even if you cut and paste the same crap out of Chat GPT, because it's on my letterhead, it holds more weight. The reality is, no, not yet. No, it doesn't yet, So I think everyone needs to calm down on that. And I think and this may be more of a tax thing, the other big strategy I help a lot with my law degree with businesses is the way you're set up. From are you LLC versus C Corp versus S Corp? What state are you in? Why are you in that state? What protections do you have? What's your tax strategy? That's where I think you can apply more of what I've learned as a lawyer to helping businesses. So,
what state should they have their LLC in?
So, you could go back and forth with this all over. I'm a big fan of Wyoming and Montana. So Wyoming has
is that still a thing?
Yeah,
the government's cracking down on that.
They are, but they haven't got certain states. They're still good old boy states that are going to try and protect this forever. And I will say the current regime right now, the current government, I don't think they're going to push too hard because they use these same things that I'm speaking of right now. Yeah. So Wyoming's crucial because they'll never, ever publicly list the LLC owner. So if you have your corporation in Wyoming, no one will ever know who Jonah Lewis is. Just the end. Right. And there's a couple other states that kind of do that, but it's not hard to figure it out. And then Montana is a little better for a holdings company because of tax strategies, et cetera. So I'm a big fan of an operating LLC out of Wyoming. And then when you're making all your money and you want to push it somewhere, you go to Montana. But that's strategy 1, because if you want to get real crazy, you talk to my guys in Arizona and we build you what's called a bridge trust, where we actually put all your money offshore. And it's legal, by the way. And it's not really offshore. It sits where it sits, but then there's a trigger where anytime you're what's called under fire clause, anytime you are threatened with a large enough lawsuit, it immediately pushes all your assets offshore. It's a bridge trust, so you have a trustee over there that manages it who's not a U.S. citizen. They can't touch your money. And then as soon as the lawsuit's done, you can bring your money back over.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's getting in the weeds, but it depends on where you're at in your journey, financially and risk-wise, because I got a lot of guys that get sued more than others, and they're starting to build assets and accumulate wealth, and it's all right, we need to build you a bridge trust, because I've seen too many people taken down off of one lawsuit.
Yeah, it's scary. I've even consulted you on personal stuff, and dude, it's stressful.
Yeah.
When you're getting sued, it's fuck.
Yeah.
So anyway, but to switch gears, it's funny because you're getting sued, you're instead of paying these lawyers, F that, I'm just going to become a lawyer.
Yeah.
So you become a lawyer. Your call centers are doing great. You're making a few $1,000,000 a year. On paper, you have all the success.
Yeah.
You got the cars, you got the house, you're making money, wearing nice suits. But you've shared with me before that inside you felt empty.
Yeah.
So what was that moment where you just felt like things were off and I want to make a radical change in my life?
Yeah. So, I started making serious money. I call serious money in my 30s. I was a hustler all in my 20s, and I started actually building a business, and I built the franchise model, went to law school. But I became so consumed with things. I always had 250K sports cars and nice suits, and I did the steroids and the tattoos. I look like Jersey Shore sitting here right now. It everything I was building was look at me type shit. And I was neglecting my four walls.
Yeah.
So I've been with my wife going on 30 years now. We've not even high school sweethearts. We started, like, we knew each other in junior high. We started dating in high school, but we've known each other since 6th grade. Started dating in high school. Throughout that time, I wasn't the best husband in the world, and I got really bad when I started making a ton of money and really focusing on business. So some of the stories I would tell myself is, look, I employ 600 people. I've got kids coming up to me because they bought their first house or their first car, or they've leveled up in life, and they're attributing it to like this opportunity that I gave them. So I felt like I was doing everything right. Never missed a soccer game for my kids. I got 3 babies. They're now 21 or 22, 23, 21, and 18. 23, 20. So anyway, I was a baby having a baby. But point being, I thought I was doing everything right because I checked all the boxes that social media says to check, right? My wife's gorgeous. My kids are all straight A's athletes. I make a ton of money. I got some abs. Like, I got everything. But the main person I was neglecting was my wife. And we were at the time, well, I can tell you right now, I've been with her almost 29 years. They're going on 30, and I cheated on her for 17 of those. And it's even hard to say out loud now. And I'm more comfortable saying it, and more importantly, she's comfortable with me saying it because it's more about her, me sharing this story. We actually share this story together from stage now because we've walked a lot of other couples through infidelity. But like, when you're a good salesman, you have the gift of gab. Like, the number one person that you close is yourself. And so I'm closing myself on, like, I'm doing everything right. Everyone loves me. I check every box. I'm the fucking man. My wife's not sleeping with me enough. So, when I leave my house, I feel like King Kong, How come everyone else says I'm the man, but you don't see it? There's something wrong with you. I'm stepping out. I'll do what I need to do. You're not going anywhere. Look at this life that I built for you and these babies, whatever. And to get to your point, to bring this home, the inflection point, I call it, you've actually gone through this exercise because now I created this exercise. I had this moment I call man in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And so I was estranged from my wife. I was living about 30 minutes away, like a little apartment in Corona, California. And I had just slept with this random girl off of Instagram. I was really proud of myself because she was so hot and all my friends were talking about her. I was like, cool, I'm just going to bang her and I'll show you guys. Which, by the way, was my MO half the time. When you really start unpacking your crazy brain, it was more about being an alpha male. And like, if there was a bad girl that ran in any circle that everyone was trying to get, I would just do it. More so to beat my chest and prove that I was the man amongst all the other lions, you know what I mean? Than to conquer some girl. It was disgusting behavior. Point being, and some of you listening have been here, but I have sex with this girl, and as soon as like you nut, like you can't get her out of the house or the bed fast enough.
Oh yeah, I have that mental clarity.
Man, you're like, what?
Fuck, what am I doing?
And you instantly just like, boom, and so she leaves, but this one was different for some reason. This like come down, this mental clarity, this like, feeling. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror for what felt like an eternity. I don't know if it was, 20 minutes or 2 hours, but I just was like, I can tell you what changed. I started asking myself different questions. And so I'm looking at this dude in the mirror and I'm like, man, you've got all the things, like everything that you're supposed to have, you have in spades, and you're miserable. And this feeling that you feel right now, it's here for a reason, and it's hitting you a lot harder than usual for a reason. So process this, Nick. So sit with this, Nick. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and it was a lot of shame and guilt. And I just started just mentally just destroyed myself. And the reality is I didn't like who I was. And then the question that really did it for me was, if you took all the things away, everything you've built, all the people you say you've helped, the cars, the clothes, the things, like if you took everything, like who is this dude? Like, who is this dude at his core staring back at you in the mirror? And A, I couldn't answer it, and B, some of the answers I was coming up with I didn't like. And so that was literally the day that I went on this crazy journey that led us here to this table,
Yeah.
So,
well, what do you think prevented your wife from leaving you after cheating on her for so long?
Yeah. She'll say it this way. I think there was enough good. I think she likes to say I wasn't a bad person. I was a good person making bad decisions. Some of it she tried to own. And, let's say you could leverage some percentages here. Let's call it 90 me, 10 her. And that sounds disgusting because, well, you cheated on her. She didn't do anything wrong. Well, you could go deep enough to say maybe she wasn't showing up in certain ways, and not just straight in sex, but she wasn't making me feel the way I needed to. There was some reason why I went outside of the house, even if she had to take 10% ownership of that. But yeah, I think the reality was I actually didn't show up any less energetically, well, obviously, of course. But I think, there's an argument, the kids. I'm sure that was a big draw. 3 kids together. We've been together since high school.
Yeah.
That probably kept her there in the pocket long enough to then get through and work on it. But the point is, she did finally leave me. And so that's when, I think as a dude, when you're getting away with it over and over, we were stuck in this cycle of like, okay, I'll get caught. She'll throw a fit. I'll move out for a couple months, or I'll go to one of my boys' house. And then I'll talk my way back into the house, and we'll be right back to normal. And that was our pattern for 17 years. And the scary thing about that pattern, by the way, what we taught our kids, and I've got 2 girls, the 23 and 21-year-old, is they saw this pattern. They saw daddy cheats, daddy talks his way back in, mom forgives dad, everything's good. So when you really start to ask yourself powerful questions and you don't realize that your actions are always under the microscope, especially when you have babies, like the important lessons, I say this a lot, are always caught, not taught. So I could teach my kids what it means to show up in a relationship, et cetera, but I'm showing them every single day. So where I'm going with this is my 23 and 21-year-old, at the time when it was really at its height, they were teenagers and they started dating, and both of them got cheated on. Now, most of us know more guys that have cheated than have not, right? So it's like it is a lot more common, but the reality is no dad wants that for his kid, where they get their hearts broken and then run back to that dude every time. But that's exactly what they did, because that's what they saw mom and dad do. So now my daughters have stories that all guys think about is sex. Every guy cheats. It's just what guys do. It's all good. Give them another chance and another chance and another chance. So I created a loop of perpetual heartbreak for my own babies because I was a selfish prick.
So what stopped that? What are you doing now to not only develop a better relationship with your wife and have a better relationship, but also have better expectations for your kids?
Yeah, work on myself. You've probably heard me say this before, but I'm about $500,000 in personal development.
Yeah.
I used to not believe in any of this shit. Like,
who are your mentors?
Nick Long's a big one. Garrett J. White, he's out here in Miami. Those are like personal mentors. Business wise, of course, Hermosi's a savage. I really like Gary Vee because I'm a big fan. Like, I cuss a lot too, and not just because he cusses, but I just think being what I call unapologetically you. Like, I think I just himself. Like real, dude. If you don't like me, cool, fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
Gary Vee is the OG.
That's
too.
what I'm saying. Oh yeah. He's got the hustle factor, right? From slanging wine in his, so
slanging wine, garage sales.
Yeah, like he's just
a hustler.
I just like his whole vibe. Yeah, just like real people, man. Brad Lee's become a big mentor because now we're good buddies, and just to hang out with him personally, like as much as we do now, to see him just genuinely help people and not try to gloat about it all the time, or there's been a lot of opportunities where I've seen him be able to really take the spotlight for something that he does right in front of me, and he never does. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I haven't checked my mentor bucket list in a while, but
So Brad Lee's the real deal?
Oh man, 100%, 100%. It's crazy because it's the same thing you said. We talked about this earlier. If you don't have haters, you're not playing big enough. You're not loud enough.
Yeah.
And so for me, the jury's still out on Andy Elliott. But Brad and Andy are buddies. You know what I mean? So I talk to Brad about that sometimes. I don't know the guy well enough, so I'm not gonna whatever. I've had a few interactions with him, obviously through Brad. But then you have to question Brad's
nobody gets hated on more than Andy Elliott.
Yeah. But he's also the loudest, right?
Yeah. That gets so much hate.
Yeah. But to me, again, he's doing it right. The fact that he just came out of my mouth, I mean, he's doing it right. The fact that we're talking about him right now. So, but where I'm going with that is, like, I was actually at an event in Puerto Rico a couple weeks ago, and I had an opportunity to speak, and it was awesome. And I was at dinner, and something came up on Brad on Baller Busters. That's what they do, right? And then someone, like, I can't remember what somebody said, but I defended him like to the hilt, man. I'm like, you don't know shit, dude. Like, you don't know nothing about nothing. And I've been on the other side of that. Like, I've had things said about me where it's like,
people just talk shit.
Exactly, right? So
people talk shit and they're insecure.
All I can give is my personal experience of certain people, and my personal experience of Brad is he is 100% the real deal. So
what's one belief that you held 5-10 years ago that you no longer believe?
Oof. I like that one. I don't want to say I was a victim, but I think the shift from external excuses to internal was probably the biggest shift I've made. So I used to believe that I wasn't where I needed to be because of the market, or because of, who was in office, or because of, I'm homeless and I have tattoos and people won't give me a chance. You know what I mean? So I had all these stories that were holding me back. And so I don't know if I could hone in on one belief, but it was like a belief system. It was a series of beliefs
Yeah.
that the homeless kid who's, been to prison and has a bunch of tattoos. And even though I got a law degree, I went to an unaccredited law school. Like I just had all these stories as to why I'll never be as big as X, Y, and Z. And then I was like, that's all bullshit. And I don't want to like sit here and say you can be anything you want to be. You just put your mind to it. But I will say that my belief has shifted dramatically. I want to say maybe ownership, like I didn't take enough ownership. And like, so Jocko Willink has a book called Extreme Ownership. But yeah, it's just really, I guess here's the easiest sentence. Everything is your fault.
Yep.
The end. And I didn't believe that for a long time. Everything was everyone else's fault. Again, when I was cheating on my wife, it was my wife's fault. She's not giving me what I need. But that girl is. And it could be something as simple as just a certain form of attention, not sexual at all. Like that girl thinks I'm awesome. My wife tells me all the time everything that's wrong with me.
Owner versus renter mentality.
Yeah, 100%.
Talk to us about your truth code.
Yeah, so if you talk about the one thing that really shifted everything and has got me like where I am now and my relationship with my daughters is amazing. The oldest is the one that I struggle with the most. For those of you that have kids or if you're watching this, there's always one kid that like you have the most friction with. There's a huge piece of advice. That's the one that has the most to teach you. So really lean into that one, right? Yeah. And so my oldest was still is, the one that I butt heads with the most. And whenever I think I have it figured out, and I'm doing pretty good on my personal development journey, she's kind of my check-in because I'm like, all right, let's go have a conversation with Tenley, who's my oldest, and she'll kind of let me know where I'm at because to this day she can still trigger me. And I thought I was at a place where I'm not triggerable anymore, if that's a word, But if we go all the way back to the man in the mirror, I said, okay, something's got to change. I don't like this dude. I don't know where to start. I don't believe in this hippie woo-woo shit like journaling and meditating. And like, that's some sissy shit. Like, get away with me. Get away from me with that. I had a soccer dad who kind of saw what was going on with my wife and I. He was like, hey, I'm going to go to this event in San Diego, California. It's like 1,500 people going to be there. It's a little aggressive for me, but I think it's right up your alley. And I was like, that shit's no way. I don't do that Tony Robbins, walk on coals, woo-woo stuff. Get away from me. He kept asking me, and thankfully he was so persistent. His name's Kyle Kiroff. I went to this event, and one gentleman said one sentence from one stage, and it just pierced my soul, and I've been on my journey since, and this is what stemmed the truth code. He said, in a world full of liars, the truth is a declaration of war. And it like spoke through me so much so that I was a lawyer at the time. Obviously, I started drafting in my little journal this thing I call the truth agreement. And I literally wrote a contract with myself to never tell a lie again. This is December 12th, 2018. I'll remember it to the day I die. And I've tweaked the agreement a little bit since then. I still have the original. It's pretty beat up. I now have it printed. But when guys come into my container, we've built a whole code around this called TRUTH, right? So it's an acronym, and it stands for Trust the Process. So TRUTH. The T is trust the process. The R is results matter. The U is uphold the standard. The second T is take care of your brother. And the H stands for honor your word. So that has become a guidepost, not only for me, my family, my kids, but for anybody that I come into contact with. Like if you can't live and die in truth, then I probably can't help you because you're just going to bullshit me anyway. But yeah, I'm not for you, and that's okay, Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's literally my code, and it's everywhere. And I think everyone should have a code that they live. Every man should have a code that they live by. Every family should have a series of things. Again, I call it your guidepost. If you start to veer too far away from this, you can always reference back to that and say, okay, am I trusting the process, et cetera, et cetera? Am I upholding the standard? Am I taking care of people? Am I honoring my word? And it'll kind of pull you back. And this becomes literally a guide rail or guidepost for your entire life. And it took me to almost 40 years old to figure that out. And I hope everyone finds their code and they just live by it. And if it doesn't fit inside of that parameter, it probably just doesn't belong in your life. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would you say to the person watching this right now where they are living a life of hedonism, whether they might be having success on the outside, but inside they feel empty? What would you say are the first few steps they should take towards becoming a better individual and a better person?
So step one, look in the mirror. Like most men, you'd be surprised they can't even look at themselves for 3 minutes without like looking away or like it literally feels awkward as heck. So like just start to hold up the mirror, start to ask yourself better questions. One of my favorite questions I have everybody ask multiple times a day is this behavior helpful or harmful? Because 99% of the time, if they're living this quote unquote life of hedonism, but they're successful like outwardly, all the things that they're hiding from or hiding from the world, likely harmful behavior, but there's a deeper reason why they're doing that. It's some form of sedation, which means at some point, even though they're flexing that they've got it all figured out, they're miserable somewhere in their life, maybe multiple areas of their life. And so every time they're reminded of that, they sedate, and they sedate with porn, and they sedate with, bad eating, and they sedate by going out and partying. They sedate by, there's a million versions of sedating, but you're basically trying to escape the life that you built because you don't really love the life that you built. But everyone says it's the life you should build, so you keep building it. And you're kind of like, well, this isn't really, but I'm not really feeling it, but I'm not that happy, but there's moments where I'm happy, but there's equally, if not more moments where I'm miserable. And so when I'm miserable, I choose these other things. And as long as no one sees them and I keep looking like this, it's all good. So, this was a powerful one for me. This kind of became my line is whose program are you running? Because we're all running a program. And the minute you stop running theirs, because you're likely running somebody else's version of success, their program, and you start writing your own, that's when life changes. And so I constantly have to remind guys, and I have to be reminded that you are the architect of this life. You are the writer, director, cast collector of your movie. Who is your cast? Who's your supporting role? What is the hero's journey?
Yeah.
How does this movie end? What's the next chapter look like? You have 100% control of that, and I don't think people understand that enough. So they let the outside world dictate their movie. They let the outside world write their program.
You only have 100% control when you acknowledge that.
Correct.
And you stop playing the victim game.
Yeah.
And we've all heard it's 85% is subconscious. So how do you reprogram yourself, and how do you reprogram your subconscious so you stop falling into the same vices that hold you captive?
Yeah, so this is like my thesis, my life, my specialty. This is literally the journey I've been trying to take men on for 5 years now, because this is what did it for me was, again, I thought this was all woo-woo until somebody explained what's called the biology of belief, which is actually a book by Dr. Bruce Lipton. But like when I was first told I should meditate every day, I'm like, yeah, that's some sissy weird shit. When I went down the rabbit hole and I learned how neuroplasticity works and the actual science behind meditation, and if I just stay in that pocket for 12 to 15 minutes every morning, very consistently, things start to change in my brain. And then when things change in my brain, because my subconscious is running the show, and my subconscious tells my conscious what to look for to make that life a reality, like it started to make sense. And so I heard the woo-woo version for years, I couldn't buy in. And I'm like, okay, well, if I needed, because guys are mostly logical, if I needed the science version of how all these dots connect to do the work, to build the life, maybe other guys need that. And so like all I've been doing is unpacking how to show guys what I call the science of success and how to actually reprogram at a cellular level. And then they're called like serendipities or coincidences, but things just start happening. Like when you actually reprogram your subconscious mind, because it literally runs your life. The average human makes 30,000 decisions in a day, and they don't know it because their subconscious is calling the shots. Like when you figure out how to change that at a subconscious level, everything changes. Like everything changes. And conversely, when you keep trying to do conscious work, read the book, go to the seminar, get the blueprint, execute, do the thing, learn the script, say the thing. That's all conscious work, which is only 5% of the game. Prefrontal cortex, 5%. It does nothing. When your subconscious is not in alignment with your conscious, it's always going to win. And once there's conflict there, you have to do work here. And if you don't do work here, this is burnout. This is that self-defeating, I'm not good enough because I'm doing all the things. Why is Jonah a better salesman than me when I know the script as well as him? I could stand like him. I could say it like him. I can put in 12 hours, 6 days a week like him. But for some reason, Jonah's further along than me.
Your belief.
Yeah, Jonah has a deeply rooted belief system in his subconscious that says he's getting here. You're doing all the things that Jonah's doing, but again, we're not human doings, we're human beings. And Jonah is being a different person than you are. And until you start figuring out this game called the subconscious and reprogramming it, you can do all the shit that all the guys from stage tell you to do, the blueprints, the hacks, the sales scripts, the thing. You could do it, and you still won't build the life that you say that you want. Because you will self-sabotage every step of the way.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get guys to buy into that. And I get it. And so all I can do is like punch them in the face, beat them down to 7-year-old boys, unpack all their subconscious areas that have them stuck and try to build them back up and send them on their way. And I think one of the handicaps to what I do for a living is when guys start winning, they still can't trace why they're winning. And so they don't always trace it back to me. I'm not me. It's still them doing the work, but they don't trace it back to the changes that we made in their subconscious. They just think all of a sudden they figured something out and they're the man and they got this shit. And so I'm okay with that because I just want guys to win. But when they understand the game, they can always come back to the subconscious because you're always going to get stuck. New levels, new devils. You might get to this level, and then again, your subconscious finds a way to self-sabotage because the thing about the subconscious, it only has one job on the planet Earth. It just wants to keep you safe. It's safe to keep you alive, if you want to call it two jobs, but it fears change so much because change is unsafe that it, by definition, the subconscious is called the habit mind. And what do habits do? Habits resist change. And so it's very, very difficult to change the subconscious. Very difficult.
What's the best way to start?
Well, there's only two ways to do it. One is with repetition. So they call it the 10,000 hour rule. But the quickest way to do it is to learn how to access different brainwave states. So like I'm a big fan of theta. You can look this up. There's only 5 technical brainwaves that your brain could ever exist in. It's delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma. Theta, you've heard of Thomas Edison, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
1,093 U.S. patents. He's got over 1,000 patents in the United States, right? Obviously, people know him for the light bulb and Edison Electric, and you could even go Edison versus Tesla back in the day. But Thomas Edison has that genius brain because he figured out theta. So I'm trying to give a practical example so guys can lean in here. When you're in theta, you process data at 337%, the rate that you're processing it now in this podcast. And it used to be, and it still is because people don't understand this concept until they hear me say it right now, is you're going to learn something. Thomas Edison would basically, you naturally hit theta twice a day, right when you wake up in the morning and then right when you're drifting to sleep. So when you're really, really deep in sleep, it's called sound wave or SWS, slow wave or sound wave sleep, you're in delta. You come up to theta because that's the next slowest one, and then you get into alpha and then beta. Right now, everyone listening to this podcast, you, me talking, we're all in beta. Beta is fight or flight. Beta is breathe. Beta is get by. Beta is where's the saber-toothed tiger that is about to get me? Like old school caveman shit. Beta is literally survival mode. And that's where most people live because they don't know how to access the lower levels. So Thomas Edison created a system where he held onto a metal ball and he would lay down on his little weirdo couch. And every time he was about to drift off to sleep, the ball would fall down, make enough noise to wake him up, and he would just journal whatever crazy shit was going through his brain. And as a result, he would study those things. And sometimes it was absolute weirdo stuff, right? But he wouldn't judge it. He would just figure out, okay, where's the next genius idea? And then he would take it and run. And he did this a couple times a day by taking naps and creating that scenario for him. Now there's technology, and I preach this religiously. It's called binaural beats. And so there's a concept whereby you can put one frequency in your left ear and another frequency in your right ear. And the difference between the two, let's call it 4 to 7 hertz is theta frequency. So if you put a 210 frequency in one ear and a 215 in the other ear, there's a 5 hertz delta. Your brain will autocorrect because it freaks out. And so, by the way, it's a legit binaural beat. If you play it on a speaker outside of your headphones, it'll have a wobble to it because your brain can't figure it out. It's literally those two things aren't lining up. And so it'll make this like wah, 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 wah. You'll hear it. But then once you put your headphones in, it goes away because your brain goes, and it autocorrects.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is you can actually access theta on demand. The recommendation over years and years of studying this is 22 minutes, if you can, twice a day, but at least once a day. So I have developed these tracks where we figure out what Jonah wants. I help Jonah get clear on those targets. We throw those targets in ChatGPT, AI, doesn't matter, but we create really powerful statements around those targets. I am statements, right? So they're like affirmations, but on steroids. So we take these like steroid affirmations, and either you can read them in your voice, or now I've got it all automated where it all creates it for you. But the reality is those are played on a loop for 22 minutes while I take you from beta into alpha into theta and then back up so you can wake up and everything's good. And if you do that literally twice a day for 22 minutes, and I'm not asking you to like bench press 315 or run a sub 6 minute mile, sit your ass down, put some headphones in, 22 minutes a day. But first you got to get clear on what you want. The pace in which things start happening for you, and like this is the serendipities I'm talking about. You won't be able to explain it, but an opportunity will line up. You won't be able to explain it, but the guy that you need to get to the next level in your business will walk right through that door. Shit just starts happening because, and again, I didn't believe this until I don't have time to go into quantum mechanics and quantum physics with you guys, but the reality is the law of attraction is real. Everything, like this giant marble thing that we're sitting on is made up of what?
Atoms.
Atoms. And what's going on in an atom?
They're vibrating.
Vibrating like crazy. We got a proton, neutron, electron spinning around like crazy. This entire table, as I slam on it, right? I couldn't break it if I tried, is literally just free. It's just vibrational frequency. And so when you learn that that same frequency allows things in, and that same frequency will call things into your life, and you have complete control over what is being said while you're bringing these things in, it's a game changer. So I know it was a long-winded way to say there's only 2 ways to reprogram. Reps like crazy, and you can still do reps. There's actually a thing called Project 369 where you take your affirmations, you read them 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, 9 times at night. Good luck with that. Have fun. If you want to access data and move fast, like most of us high-performing males want to just kick ass and take names, I can show you how to access data. I can plug in a talk track that you create. I'm not trying to program you. That starts to manifest crazy shit in your life that you won't even be able to explain.
Yeah.
We do them every 90 days. Yeah.
And people can, because I've gone through your program, which you learn more about this.
Yeah.
So anybody that wants to go through it, we can give them the information at the end of this podcast. But it's your program's powerful. The first time I went out to your ranch, which beautiful ranch. How many acres is it?
155. Yeah, 150.
Yeah. So 150 acres. How many cabins? 10, 12?
Yeah, it sleeps about 80, 85 people.
Yeah. So couple lakes, beautiful ranch. So the first time I went through it over there, Nick Long was there, Hudson, met a lot of other great people. And the second time you came out to Idaho on our leadership retreat, and we went through a lot of those same things there. But just talk to everybody about what you're doing with your program, the purpose behind it, and how they can get involved if they feel like that's something that would benefit them.
Yeah, so I built this thing to try to walk men through a lot of the stuff I've been struggling with and kind of figuring out. And it's called The Program because, again, until you can change the program, good luck. So essentially, it's a neuro-based approach. It's very faith-based. So I'm working on this concept called neurotheology. There's actually a pastor out of Austin, Texas, and his name escapes me, and I feel horrible, but he's writing a book, and I'm trying to connect with him on the concept of neuroscience and theology. It's pretty cool stuff. So, our elements are faith, family, fitness, and finance in that order. So faith first, and then your family. Then, of course, you're one vessel to get through this life, and then money comes last because money is a byproduct of those first 3. But yeah, essentially, I work with men only. I take them in the woods. I beat them down to 7-year-old boys. And I know that probably scares some of you from coming, so then it's not for you. That's okay. But the whole concept of the event is to expose your program. So it's a 2.5-day experience. It's pretty aggressive out of the gate because it's designed to expose you, and pressure exposes your program. So I have created this container to put you under enough pressure so I can see what's going on inside your head. Because when I can see what's going on, I can get in there with a scalpel and we can start to pull out the shit that doesn't serve you. And then I can show you how to rebuild in 3 days and go on your way. Does 3 days solve everything? No. But yeah, it's a pretty powerful way to just really, it creates a massive shift in people in 2.5 days. And then if they want to hang out with me for a year, great. If not, again, the event is treated kind of like a silo of like change. Just hopefully I changed your life and showed you some cool shit and changed your perspective and the way that you operate. Go home and tell more people, So that's kind of the gist of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And besides change, what's your goal from somebody from what is their mindset when they get there? And then when they leave, what do you want their mindset and perspective towards the world to be?
I mean, everyone's going to have their own unique shift. But yeah, overall, we've got some intentional criteria designed to achieve an intentional result. I mean, what we roll, so extreme ownership is definitely a big part of it. But the main thing I want them to understand is that all the genius, all the ideas, all the things that they're looking for externally, which is why most of them come anyway, the shit's all out there. But it doesn't matter if they go and find it because 9 out of 10 times they won't execute. And that's a hard thing for guys to swallow because they all have egos and they're all like, I'm the fucking man, bro. Trust me. If you lay out a blueprint in front of me, I'm going to execute. I'm a savage. No, you won't. And no, you're not. And I love you, but please believe me on this. So I guess what I'm saying is it's I call it car and driver, but it's really about the businessman, not the business plan. And everyone out there is trying to build this badass McLaren or F1 car, and they're trying to navigate this race through this cool-ass vehicle, whether it's life insurance or it doesn't matter what the vehicle is. They want to build the biggest, baddest business on the planet Earth because I work with entrepreneurs. But if the guy driving the car, driving the Ferrari, if he can't make turn 2, then what's the point? And most men don't understand how important the driver is. So yeah, the main thing I want them to leave with is that until they figure out themselves and all the ways that they're sabotaging what they say they want to build, they can keep looking for the next blueprint, hack, guru, book, mastermind. It's all going to be in vain.
Yeah.
So,
you have to change who you are first before you can change the world.
Yeah, 100%.
So in closing, what's what's one piece of advice you'd give to every 20-year-old watching this? Because our audience is primarily 20-year-old males.
Yeah.
What's one sentence you wish everybody heard?
This is going to be a question. This is a question you should ask yourself 1,000 times a day. And if you could start asking yourself this now, at 20 years old, you'll be light years ahead of me and everyone else. The question is simple. What am I learning about me?
Yeah.
Like, how many times a day can you ask yourself that? Like, as we sit here on this podcast, like there's a gentleman right here who's running all the AV and running the whole show.
Shout out to Ryan.
Yeah. Shout out to my man, Ryan. Like, at any moment, like even Ryan could ask himself right now, what am I learning about me as I sit here and I watch these two guys have a conversation? Like later today, I'm going to speak at you guys' event and I'm going to create a little tension in that room.
Good.
And there's going to be an opportunity for people to ask themselves, like, what am I learning about myself right now in this moment? Because the best thing you can own is a mirror and a soundboard. Like, constantly hold it up in every situation you find yourself in, especially when there's pressure or friction. That's a moment to learn. You know, there's a sentence I'm going to use from stage today, and I use it a lot. Maybe you haven't heard this one yet. Pressure is the professor. And as men, it is our absolute responsibility to engineer environments that expose us. So what I'm going with this is we have to create our own pressure. And most men are scared to do that. And the number one reason they're scared to do that is because they have egos. For example, if you have a new kid in here and there's an absolute savage on the phone next to him, that new guy should be role-playing out loud with that savage any chance he gets. But what are the odds that the new guy is willing to look like an absolute fool, even though he's new, right? But he has a story that if I role-play out loud with that guy who's way better than me, I might look stupid. And it's the guy that's willing to look stupid that's going to win.
Yes.
But so many people are so scared shitless. They don't want to intentionally create conditions of pressure to expose their program so they can start to analyze it and create new lines of code in their program.
Pressure makes diamonds. I had it written on my on my board for a couple of years on my old office. It said, Marcus Aurelius, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way ends up becoming the way.
Yep.
And when I read that a few years ago, I was like, well, that's an oxymoron. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it some more and I thought, well, shit. It's if you look at adversity or different things if you look at those as roadblocks, that's the wrong perspective.
Yep.
You need to look at those as learning points and stepping stones to develop you into the person that God created you to become.
But so many people are scared of the obstacle.
Yeah.
There's a book, so that sentence from Marcus Aurelius is powerful, and then I can't remember the author, and I usually am better about this, but the book's called The Obstacle is the Way. And it's the very same principle. It's like the thing that is stopping you from taking action is the action you need to take to get to that next action that you know what I mean? So yeah, it's exactly that. Like it's most men I come across, especially guys that are high performing and building big shit, they know what to do. Anything I could possibly sell anybody on this podcast or you right now in strategy is out there right now for free. True or not true?
True.
ChatGPT could break down every single thing you need to do, from how you need to run your ads to what you need to say, what time of day to post, what's the best script, how do you use, NLP to get Miss Jones to buy the thing. Like, everything's out there. Everything is out there. But guys still aren't executing. And so to me, like, this advancement in AI is really just hammering home my thesis even more. Like, it has nothing to do with all the external shit you're looking for, because you will find a way to sabotage. I'll watch you do it. And my job is to put you in positions to recognize it in you, because the problem is most guys can't recognize it themselves.
Go to war with the man in the mirror.
Yeah, every day. Multiple times a day. Multiple times a day, bro. You know what I mean?
Man, what a good note to end on. Nick, if somebody wants to either work with you directly or go through your program, how can they get into that?
Social. I'm not a big social media guy. I need to get better. Maybe Jonah will help me grow my social. It's the Nick Alfano is my handle on most things. And then Reprogram.ai. So that's RE. It's called The Program, but I've been fighting for that. There's a guy in Chicago actually that owns that domain. Real estate guy. I've been like war with him. Anyway, so I don't own theprogram.com. I've been trying to buy it from this guy for years, but it's Reprogram, reprogram.ai. Yeah.
Let's go. Nick Alfano.
Appreciate you, brother. Come across the table here.
Thanks for hopping on the pod.
Yep.